I'll get started, and just basically what I wanted to do today was just a lot of people ask me questions about GarageBand,
Yeah.
or people send me GarageBand files that like, oh, it sounds weird and stuff like that, and like. And there's a few common things that why it sounds weird and things like that. So I've just done some stuff. I've made a little backing track and singing on that to show you some of the stuff you do when you come to mix files together, and how to understand some of the controls and what the controls do, and and just explaining what we could do. So I'm just going to share screen. Okay, I'm going to the GarageBand. So I'll just check you can hear this. So I've done I did a bit of Bowie as a demo, and you'll see why in a minute. But there we go. So I'll just put on your red shoes and dance the blues. So can you hear that all right?
Yes.
Yeah, oh yes, very nice.
Okay, yeah. So got a backing track there and a bit of Bowie. I'm just going to do a new file first, just to save that. And here I'm just going to do an empty project. I'll have to do a new share. Okay. So right, one sec. I'm just going to share this new screen. So we'll talk about a little bit about things like recording guitars and stuff in a minute. Yeah, but just start with the backing track, something simple. Yeah. And so one thing about first thing is when you start a new GarageBand file, it always asks you to do you want an audio file? You get this screen that pops up, say what type of track do you want to start with. Usually you'll select audio, yeah. And but I always. Now, the audio tracks, sometimes what people do is they'll start one and they'll start with something like this, right vocal. So, okay, so if I do this, you can see all right.
Wow, it's right up.
Okay. Let me do that. Can you hear now? I've got like echo and things on.
Yes.
That's way up, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can hear I've got this echoey voice now.
Yes.
And so what people sometimes do is they create a track and then they get the backing track. So I'm just going to go and find my backing track. GarageBand Workshop. Here it is. Let's dance. Here it is. It's actually a video file. Drop it onto there. Okay. And by mistake.
Can you put video files in there?
You can, yeah.
What, as MP3s or as MP4s?
MP4s, yeah.
Really? Oh, I didn't know
Watch
that.
them.
Okay.
So you've got a karaoke file, you can.
Oh, I didn't know you could use those. Okay.
So number one
I
error that a lot of people make is they then drag the audio track,
yeah,
stick it on the track they've created, like this.
Yeah.
And so what they've effectively done is they've basically got all these effects, the plugins, and like you might have that on. Now, and let me just go to here. I'll just make this really crazy. So it's like, here we go. You hear how this goes back track?
Yeah, completely mucked up the backing track.
Because let me turn all this off now. All right. Okay. Because what they've done is they've got all these echoes and delays and things that are meant for vocals.
Yes.
On the backing track.
Right. Because
you can hear all that. Which you don't want anything on the backing track.
No.
The track's already been mixed. Okay, so that's number one.
Good. I was going to ask you about that. Thank you.
So way to fix that. Simple way to fix that is just do new track. Just do that. Now, when you create a new track, basically, you can see everything's turned off. Okay, no echo, no reverb. So we're going to drop this down. Metronome off. Okay, I'm on a track that's got no effects on it.
Right.
No any effects on my backing track. Okay, so that's just something to always watch out for in GarageBand.
Yeah. The other thing.
People have sent me a thing and said, oh, I've done it, but it just doesn't sound right. And I'm like, oh, it's the backing track. It's got all these delay on it and reverb, and it sounds like a big mush. So let's just take all that off.
I also found, because when I sort of record, I just do it naturally. I don't put anything on it, and then I listen back, and then I added a bit of reverb afterwards. Normally, I'll just, as you know, I'll just choose classic or natural.
Yeah.
But for the one I'm doing now, that didn't seem right. It just needed a bit more reverb. So I've been playing about with it. So I did it afterwards. I didn't do it while I was recording.
Yeah. Well, what you tend to do is, obviously with the backing track, you don't put reverb on and stuff like that. But with your voice, then you do, because you want it. Because if you don't, unless you want to create that effect, it sounds very dry. It sounds like you're just in a tiny room, and you generally want it to sound like you're in a hall or a room, or it's got some like a vocal without any ambience just sounds very dead.
Yes.
So you need to lift it a bit with and give it some ambience, and obviously there's some presets like you said in here.
Yeah.
Like natural vocal, and bright vocal or classic vocal, and these are all fine and good starting points. But what's really good is if you understand how to tweak these, and then you can set it for yourself. So what these do. Okay, so let me just close that.
Yeah, this is exactly the problem I have, Jason. So it's obviously the same as everybody else is having, really. Yes. So it'd be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing about with mine quite a bit, trying to get the right amount of reverb, just because I've been listening to so many different versions of that song.
Yeah.
I came across one with Barbra Streisand singing it live, and I thought, goodness, why am I worried about the amount of reverb I've put on after listening to hers? Because it was quite hysterical, really. There was so much reverb. So
yeah.
But I have, since texting you, I've been playing with it a bit. But yes.
Yeah. So
it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is, once you put a load of stuff on it and faffed around and without knowing what you're doing, really, how do you then go back and put it all right? Because
well, you can literally just reset it or turn it on and off, or and the great thing about it, these programs is, you can always just go back to the default settings, and when you put something on, it's not like it's part of the track and it's like baked into it.
Yeah.
It's just added to the track, so you can always turn it off or turn it down, or remove the effect that you might put effect on. You don't like that effect, you can just turn it off again. You can always go right back to your starting point, because it just adds things as what's in what's called post. So it's a post effect. It's so the original recording never changes and it's always there. Anything you put onto it is added on top of that, and you can turn it off again. Okay, so you can always go right back to the start.
Yeah.
Jason, can I ask a couple of I don't have a Mac. I'm using a phone. So 2 questions. A, I don't know if you know this, but does the iPhone GarageBand have as much functionality, or if it doesn't, I haven't been able to find the presets, for example, that you've got on the left of your screen there in the phone. I've used the phone one a bit. And the second question, sorry, just because you can answer both at the same time, was the iPhone. I've recorded a few things on here, and it kind of sounds all right because the iPhone mic is not too bad.
Pretty good,
but, so I don't know whether I need to get because just for my own purposes, really, like an iPhone mic, or whether if I think it sounds okay, if it sounds okay through earphones, it will sound okay through something else.
I mean, if it's good, if it sounds okay and it's not, one of the main things if it's not distorted.
Yeah.
If it distorts, then you're probably too close, or you got your mic too high, and you can't really fix that. But you can always, if it's fine, you can always sweeten the sound by doing quite a lot within GarageBand, by playing with things like EQ, some reverb, and all this kind of stuff. But I'm not sure. I think they do have. I think there is some presets, but you don't really need the presets on the iPhone version of GarageBand. It does have like a reverb effect and a delay.
Yeah, it already is quite reverby. I've heard it. Like it doesn't sound coming through.
By default, it puts one on if you're recording a vocal. So what you need to know is how to get in those settings. Like, and they're pretty similar to the ones you see here. They've got the very similar. They're just on a phone, but they're actually kind of the same buttons, just smaller, and so you can if you can find the settings, it's basically just adjusting them so you get it that sounds right for you. So let me just show you what I did here. Let me go into open.
Before you do that, Jason.
Yeah, sure.
Why in Classic does it call it plate and spring for the ambience and the reverb, whereas in Natural it would call it ambience and reverb? Why is that called plate? Is it?
It's referring to the reverb setting, which you can go in and change. So there are different kinds of reverbs. So plate reverb is it's emulating an old school reverb where you kind of sing onto this thing and it will bounce off like a plate and in a device, like in an electrical device. There's things like spring reverbs and inside the device, often used for guitars, like in guitar amps. That's why sometimes you pick up, hi Gary. You sometimes pick an amp up and you hear these, what sounds like these springs rattling about inside it, and that's the reverb. And they put the signal through these springs, and these springs vibrate and cause a reverb sound. So, and that has a distinctive sound to like a hall reverb, which so these reverbs have different kind of tones. Right. And again, it's just finding the one that you know. Like rockabilly sounds, like the early Elvis stuff. A lot of that has a kind of bouncy kind of spring reverb on it, you know. Right. If Barbara Streisand, you're probably in a big hall reverb, you know. So they just have different sort of sounds, different tones.
Because I know when I was playing about with Nature Boy, I sang it and then I played with the different set ones, and I just noticed the Classic just sounded better. It just suited the track better.
Yeah. And
it just sounded more like the era, I suppose, that I was looking for. And that's what I noticed, whereas Natural just seemed a little bit, it brought it more to the fore in a way. It brought the vocal seemed more in the front, and it didn't seem right for that sort of track in a big hall. So that's why I ended up with Classic.
Going through the set, finding the right one for your track. And all tracks different and everybody's voice is different.
Yeah. Whereas this time I'm playing about with reverb on my own without the settings because of the track I've chosen.
So there's 4 main effects that you use when you come. There's lots more, but there's basically 4 that if you understand them, then you can get something mixed. And they usually go. So you've got compression, EQ, reverb, and delay. Okay, so I've got a bit of all of these on this track because I use this as a kind of extreme example because it's got a lot on it, and I know this because I've been able to find the original isolated vocal track. So I've tried to kind of copy that and show you how I kind of went about copying it. So let me go back. So obviously, being a big Bowie fan. Okay, I've got the backing track here. No effects on that. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. And there you can, that's my mixed track. Okay, this is the original. So I'll switch, I made a copy of it. And put on your red shoes and dance the blues. So that's very dry. There's like if you compare just this, let me turn that off.
Your reverb's right down on that.
Okay, yeah, it's on nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. And on this one, okay, let's have a look. This track, let's put a bit more on that. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Okay, it's a lot on there. So and then this one is dry. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. I'll take that off too. Yeah, that's off. Okay, so that's just dry. And this is the original. This is how Bowie did it. So I wanted to try and copy that.
Yeah.
And dance the blues.
A lot of reverb.
And it's surprising how a lot of these 80s tracks do, you know, especially the big rock tracks.
Yeah.
Have a lot on, and when they're mixed with the backing, you don't notice it as much. But when you hear it in isolation, you think, oh, there's a lot. You know, it's got that big 80s production sound. Okay, so it's probably more than you'd want for your tracks if you're doing something. But it's good. It's a good example, so I can go a bit over the top to kind of show you. So with Bowie and sort of me together, so you can see I've kind of got put on your red shoes and dance the blues. You can hear you've got some delay on Bowie's, so after you finish singing you get like a repeat of it.
Shoes and dance the blues.
Okay, so here we go. So I've recorded my track, and as you can see I've recorded my track. There's some loud bits and quiet bits. Way through the crowd to an empty... Both on there. Sway through the crowd to an empty space. Now, you can see that bit's quite a lot louder on the waveform.
Yeah.
Okay, I've made sure that my microphone's...
Further away.
It's not... Okay, it's not going right to the top. Okay, so it's not distorted. So, you know, I've set my recording level.
Yeah.
But if I play this back, look at the waveform, look at the levels here. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues to the song they're playing on the radio. While color lights up your face. Sway through the crowd to an empty space.
Yeah.
Now, even though you can see that looks a lot louder. In here, it gets just a little bit loud at the end.
Yes.
That's fine. You want some variation, but it's all about everything's hitting about the yellow.
Yeah.
And the reason it's done that is because I've put a compressor on it.
I was going to ask about that. Right. Yes.
Okay. So compressor's really useful. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got sway through the crowd to an empty space.
Yeah.
It's up your face. Sway through the crowd. Now you can see my compressor here.
Yeah.
What it's doing. What a compressor does is it makes the quiet bits louder and the loud bits quieter.
Yes.
So, like, it squashes it, and this is really useful because it means that your volume's not on your vocals, not going up and down. It's always a nice, even when you're singing quietly, you can hear it because it's kind of made louder.
Yeah.
And then when you do a loud bit, so you can see on here when color lights up your face. There's hardly, when that blue light comes on,
What, Lily?
it's compressing. So there's hardly any compressing on my quieter bits. But look,
Yeah.
when I sing this loud bit. Sway through the crowd to an empty space. It does a lot more. You see, the
Yeah.
blue lights come. Sway through the crowd to an empty space. Okay, and
Right.
if I
A friend of mine. Well,
see, if I increase it, I get even
Yeah.
quieter. That's too much. Sway through the crowd. Okay.
so where would you have it, Jason? Around there?
Yeah.
Around where you've got it at the moment?
Sway through the crowd to an. Again, it depends on my vocal,
Yes.
but I can kind of judge it in here because if my quieter bits and my louder bits are both about the same level in here,
Yes.
then I've got a nice even balance. Sway
Perfect.
through the
Thank
crowd
you.
to an empty space. So let me just
So it doesn't make
Right,
any
Lily.
difference. So it doesn't make any difference, Jason, what you're seeing on your track.
No, because everything's
Oh.
added after the track.
Yes.
So you'll see a difference in here,
Right.
in the level, because that's what's coming out.
Yeah.
But these waveforms represent what you recorded originally.
Mm-hmm. Because that's how I did mine.
Change.
Yeah.
You're just tweaking them after the effect.
Right.
Okay, so even though these will still look quieter than this, because the compressor is working as what's called a post effect, so it's putting the effect on after the recording.
Do you
if
check
you
where
have,
the compressor is?
sorry,
Do you check where the compressor is to check that the levels are good?
You see
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
audio one bit, you would.
you can basically you can see it, you can hear it too if you get
Yeah.
too loud or too quiet. So listen here. I'm going to turn the compressor onto full.
Oh my God.
I've kind of disappeared
Yes.
because I've gone loud and it's made it too quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, I had it about there. Let's stick it in the middle.
Sway through the crowd to an empty space.
That's good, and it's about the same volume now.
Lights up your face.
Okay.
While color lights up your face.
Okay, I could probably have it even a little bit less.
Lights up your face. Sway through the crowd to an empty space.
Yeah.
That seems about right.
Because you want a little bit of variation, don't you? Because
Oh
there
yeah,
are
yeah,
often,
yeah, yeah.
like my
Sense
track.
that I'm getting louder and quieter.
I'm
Yeah,
not
there's
sure
stuff
where,
like-
You can't hear me, or I'm too loud.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you check the levels.
It's just you can see it here. You see
See
that?
where it says audio one, Laurent?
Okay, yeah.
There.
See, okay, you can see there that
Color lights up your face.
And you see what the
I'm
compressor
hitting the
is.
yellow, which is a good place to be. Genuinely.
Yeah.
If I
That's
go
where
to-
you check.
and
Okay.
yeah, and if I can see this one,
Sway through the crowd to an empty space.
it's also in the yellow.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
It's
you.
not getting too loud. So my quiet bits, by putting a compressor on it, my quieter bits and my louder bits, like here I go really loud.
It's in my arms.
See here?
Tremble like a flower.
Okay, really shouting there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
the
wasn't
compressors-
quite sure where to look, but thank you.
Yeah. So that you can see it here.
You could do with a bit less compression than this. You could even turn that bit down, couldn't you?
Yeah. So I just did a little demo to show you. Let me just save this. Open recent
What's the matter, Lily?
compressor. Okay. Just quick. All right. So here we go. Turn this on. So here, just play this back. I'm talking very quietly.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
Okay, so you can see that there. The first bit, I'm just whispering.
Yeah.
Talking very quietly.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
So I'll put the compressor on. I'm talking very, and I'm going to go and just change the settings on this a little bit. Going to take it right up and add some. Let's try that. I'm talking very quiet.
Ah.
Okay, that's going to be quietly.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
There we are. Do that a bit. I'm talking very quietly.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
You see now, I'm talking very quietly.
Yes. Very good.
Even a little bit. I'm talking very quietly.
I think
Now
that's
I'm talking very loudly.
See, before without the compressor, you can barely hear the first bit. I'm talking very quietly.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
Now
This is brilliant.
talking very
Yeah.
quietly.
Beautiful.
Now I'm talking very
Yeah.
loudly.
You can see on the levels there, they're both the same level.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
made my quiet bit louder
Yeah.
and my
So
loud
I've been
bit
wondering
quieter.
for
Yeah.
ages when like recording and stuff like, there are bits of songs that you're singing in a quieter voice, and it's impossible to like not feel like you've lost it completely.
Yeah.
So
Like,
that's where a
or like,
compressor
the bit
really
that's
good.
really intense, or
That's where a compressor's really good
Yeah.
because you can really kind of you can really sort of sing softly and then sing big, and when you come to mix it,
Yeah.
compressor will balance that out a lot.
because otherwise I do a sort of pigeon thing where I sort of lean back for the loud bit and then lean in for the
Yeah,
which
but
is
the
no
problem
good.
with that is sometimes you sound distant. And
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds nuts. No, it sounds rubbish. Ah, that's great.
I mean, I discovered, someone told me about that compressor, but thank you, Jason, because he wasn't quite sure that's what it does. So it's good to get verification because that's I've been playing with the reverb and compressor on mine.
Now I'm talking very loudly.
there you go. So, the way it works, okay, is turn that down a little bit.
How do you open up that little box there?
That's what I was
What you
wondering.
do is, let me show you. When you do an effect, if you go into like
Down the
okay,
bottom there.
down the bottom, let me take this off.
Yeah.
So if that's not visible, I just click at the top left here.
Oh, yes.
It's controls.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this will take it on or off.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the compressor on, but I can change the basic amount.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking very
See
loudly.
there? It's kind of working there, but I might want to tweak it a bit more. So if I just open up here where it says plugins,
Okay.
compressor, I can do that. And
Okay.
so
How do you decide what is a good setting? I mean, okay, so I get with gain
Hi, Corey.
doing
Yeah.
it that you could see the change in volume when you spoke quietly and you increased the gain so that
Yeah.
quietly became normal sound.
yeah,
But then because I never touch these settings because I'm not sure what I'm touching. So
Yeah.
I tend to
Oh.
leave it and just stick with basic reverb.
so here we go. So let me just take these down a little bit. So okay, so I'll take that down and put that on 0 to begin with. All right. So so the threshold, okay, the threshold is how loud it needs to be
Okay.
for the compressor to work.
Okay.
To start taking down the volume.
I'm talking very quietly.
So there, let me say, if it's 0 decibels, if it's all the way up,
I'm talking very quiet.
and let's do that.
I'm talking very.
So
I'm talking very quietly.
So
Ah.
I've taken that
Right.
all the way up, so it's pretty much compressing everything,
Mm.
and I don't want that
Okay.
because it's also compressing my quiet bits. It's also it's also
I'm talking very quiet.
Yeah.
I'm talking very.
it's actually reduced my quiet bit, but I want it to compress
No!
these bits. So one thing I could do is, let's say I start about in the middle.
I'm talking very quietly. No! I'm talking very.
Let's take that up a little bit more. Oh, I need to turn it on, that's why. Take it up. So start in the middle.
No! I'm talking very loud.
Okay, and then this bit.
Talking very quietly. No! I'm talking very loudly.
Okay, so that's a good way to judge it, your threshold.
Okay.
Just to tweak it. You can see that on my quiet bits, it's not, these blue lights aren't activating.
Mm.
It's not making my quiet bits any quieter.
Talking very quietly. No! I'm talking
Here.
very loudly.
When I get loud, it's reducing them. So if I take it all the way like this,
I'm talking very
look,
quietly.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's making everything squashed.
Yeah.
Too much. If I take it all the way the other way,
No! I'm talking very loud.
it's reducing my quiet bits, but not very much. I want a bit more. I want my loud bits to be.
No! I'm talking very loudly.
That's
I'm
better.
talking very quietly.
Okay, and now I can maybe. The ratio
Yes.
is.
No! I'm talking very loudly.
That's not doing very much. It means 1/1 is just for every. It's just 1 times. Well, it's not really adding any compression. there.
No! I'm talking.
It's adding a bit, but if I go up to here,
No! I'm talking very loudly. No, I'm talking very loudly.
So in your audio one,
So
Jason.
what it does is a ratio. So if it goes 1 decibel over,
Right.
it'll reduce it by 2 decibels.
Okay.
And then if you increase that ratio to, so now it's 30 to 1. So if it goes 1 decibel, it reduce it by 30. 30 to, so,
No, I'm talking very
so
loud.
you can see it's reducing it by more.
Right.
If you take that down,
No, I'm talking very loudly.
stop reducing it by as much. If I reduce it a bit more,
No, I'm talking very loudly.
it's not reducing it quite as much. So it's usually somewhere in the middle that you probably want it.
So
So
my songs mostly, if they're softer songs, then I would be having, I suppose, maybe a middle range ratio.
yeah, you probably just want like a mid setting,
Or even
not too much on the ratio if you're not singing that loud,
Right.
and maybe take the gain up a little bit, and that will just
Yeah.
increase the overall volume of your whole track.
Okay.
And what it will do, it will catch any bits that are just a bit too loud.
Right. Okay.
So if there's any bit,
Yeah.
it'll just balance it out a little bit. And
So what is attack?
attack is how fast it comes in.
Oh.
No, I'm talking very.
If I take that to,
No, I'm talking very loud. No,
you see there, if I take that a little later,
no,
you can hear the and is louder because it's taking longer
Okay.
to kick in.
Thank you.
Okay, so like on Nile Rodgers, like his funky guitar, he uses compressor on that
Okay.
70s to get, it gives it this really clean funky sound, but he has a slow attack.
Okay.
And the reason is he doesn't want the compressor to kick in before he's got the sound of the pick hitting the strings.
Right.
He wants to keep that, and that keeps it really funky. But then the compressor kind of makes it bigger sounding after the initial attack. So there's all these different settings that are good, and you can actually go into here
Yeah.
as a good starting point.
That was the other.
And open this up,
Okay.
okay, and then like voice and like just pick like a setting like a vintage.
God, you've got loads.
Yeah.
You've all got them. They're all there.
They're all there. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. They are. They are. It's
No,
just-
they're there yet. Okay, and just
no.
and then that might be perfect. Or now you know what these do.
So these are presets in a sense.
These are presets, but
Yeah.
you can tweak presets.
Okay.
So tweaking presets are often a good starting point.
Okay.
Start with a preset that you think you
Yeah.
know might suit your voice. So if you're doing like vintage, like vocal smooth, there you go. They're all. See, it's smooth, and you can see when I said smooth, it's got a very slow attack.
Right.
So
Oh.
that means it's kind
Might
of
be
not
useful
kicking
one
in
to
the
look
past. So it's so yeah. So
Jason, can I
if
ask you
did
then,
vocal
just to
vocal
confirm?
hard. Okay, it's got a faster attack.
So if you had a backing track,
Yeah.
you would not touch the backing track at all.
No, because the backing track would have already been mixed
Yeah.
with a compressor on it.
Marvelous. So then what you do is you then you focus on your vocal and you look at the compression and the amount of reverb to do with that.
Yeah.
And then if it feels like there are certain parts that are too quiet when you put it up against the backing track,
Yeah.
you look at your vocal when you try and do what you've just done now. So bring those quieter bits up.
Yeah.
But you not touch the
Basically,
backing track.
you want it. So even when you're singing quietly,
Yes.
we can still hear you just as well as when you're singing loudly.
Yeah.
You know. And
Jason, sorry, finish. So we've been talking almost exclusively. Well, we've not exclusively about singing. If I'm playing an instrument with it, so if I'm playing guitar with it,
Mhm.
like, so if I'm finger picking something and I've got reasonable control of it, presumably I don't need the compressor that much because I should be finger picking at a reasonably consistent volume. Is that right? The way to think about it? But if I'm strumming,
But you actually find that a compressor can sound quite nice on a guitar.
Okay.
Let's grab this.
thanks.
Do like a finger picking thing. There we go. So if I just do, let me just do a new track. Okay, so I just recorded a bit of Blackbird there.
Yeah.
So again, let me go to my compressor, and let's go to guitar, and let's do acoustic guitar. Let's see if that sounds better.
Just switch it on at the bottom.
Hang on, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does sound better.
That's a bit of
Really pulls it out,
that's a
doesn't
bit
it?
more, yeah.
What you can hear here, see there? Those high notes are a bit quieter than my bass notes.
Mm.
So now with the compressor on,
Yeah, they pop much more.
pop more out, and let's put a little bit of reverb on that.
All right. I should make sure. Okay. Oh yeah, this exists on the iPhone one as well.
That's lovely.
Yeah, and there you go. So it's a bit of, let me just got all these guitar effects pedals.
Wow.
So,
Oh God.
so here I've got some nice. Got a nice guitar spring reverb there. That's too much. Alright, so just got a little bit of guitar. Put some chorus on as well, some guitar chorus. But you could go crazy, you know. Let's put some. You've got all these effects. Make it totally like spaced out.
Oh my goodness.
I've got some flange, sort of psychedelic kind. You could go crazy, you know. You could go mad with effects. You know, but just so just a bit of compression on your guitar, and maybe just a little bit of spring reverb or something. Even though it'll just again, it can just make it sound fuller. And and so like in the compressor settings, you know, if you go to guitars, you know, there's all these different. Let me get rid of the pedal board. I'll just turn it off. I'll leave the reverb on, but I'll just turn off the silly effects. Okay, so
Just
so this
that's
is
nice.
this is without. With.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of reverb, a little bit of compression. Sounds nice.
Can I ask you, Jason, what's ambience? How's ambience different from reverb?
It's. I think the ambience is basically.
I mean, they go together, don't they? But I don't.
They go together. Let me just. I think.
Oh yeah, there's a bit.
It's just. I think it gives it. It kind of gives it
Warmth.
more sort of time, like a longer. So the more ambience, it's like the bigger the room.
Right. Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You can have short reverbs or long reverbs. So you can have anything from a small club to a cathedral.
I read somewhere that if you've got reverb on and you've got the compressor on as well, the compressor's going to keep the reverb for the end of the note rather than all the way through or something. Does that make sense?
Well, what you do is...
Which would be sensible.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the order in which you put them. So what you generally do is you put the compressor on first.
Right.
For the reverb. So if you put the reverb on first, then the compressor is also compressing the reverb, which you don't really want.
Right. Okay.
So what you do is you add the compression first, and then you put the reverb on. So generally, your first effect you'll put on your tracks is the compressor, which you can see by default it's on first anyway. what you create. It's the first effect in here. So because what basically the compressor's doing is sorting out the levels.
Yeah.
And that's really the first thing you want to sort out. And so then after that, you can sort out what's called the EQ. And then after you've got that sorted out, then you put on top of that your kind of effects. So like things like delay and reverb, or you can put like chorus effects on guitars. And there's lots of effects you can put on. A funky wah-wah pedal effects, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
But generally, you put those on after you've sorted out your compression.
Right.
So the compressor, because it's on first before the reverb, it's not compressing the reverb.
Right.
Because the compressor's added later, so it's not taking a signal that's got reverb on it and compressing it.
When I record, should I have the compressor on, or should I just record and then when I'm listening back like you did, then put the compressor on?
Make a difference,
right?
Because it won't change the tone. The compressor doesn't really change the tone of anything. It just really affects the levels. So when you're hearing it back, you won't be hearing your voice differently.
Yes.
You just be hearing it at a more even level. So it won't affect your performance because you're not hearing things and thinking, oh, that sounds different because it's got like an effect on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter when you're doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have it on, and in fact having it on while you're recording might help because it might give you more back through your headphones when you're singing quietly to hear what you're singing. Yeah.
So, Chase,
so again, it's up to you. Yes, sorry, Gary.
Following on to Debbie's question. So if we're recording and we have the compressor on,
yeah,
do we need to select? So should we have a vocal type setting already, like bright, classic, natural, when we do it, or does that go on after and only if you need to?
I think after and only if you need to. I tend not to use these.
Yeah.
Because these are basically presets, so they're just a bunch of settings that Apple have made that are basically all these, but at different settings.
Okay.
And so sometimes the good places to start.
Yeah.
But and tweak them. But if you know what these do, or these effects do, then you're not stuck to just using presets. You can actually go in and tweak it yourself and find what's just right for you.
And do we ever touch the master?
The master is like the master is like if I go to my
master and then EQ actually.
Yeah.
yeah. So output here, okay, is basically this is like your final mix. So I'll come to that later. So the master is everything together.
Okay.
So when it's track,
you've got guitars and synths and
so the overall everything. So if you want to take everything up or down,
right,
you can adjust the master track because the master track is the mix of all the tracks.
Right.
Okay.
Generally, me and Gory don't need to worry too much about that then.
No.
Okay.
So
but Terry might.
So here we go. So there you go. So it's got a nice guitar sound there, and let me go into the EQ as well, and let me go acoustic guitar bright. I'm going to EQ it also. Can you hear the difference?
Yes.
How it sounds brighter?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm coming to is EQ. Let me just like reset this. Let me just do okay, so I've got let me just do like a little. So what an EQ does is it takes a frequency and just lets you kind of sweep across it. So that's all the high frequencies. That's all the low frequencies. Take the middle out. Okay, so like for example, I could just have this would sound. All I'm hearing there is the top frequencies.
Yes.
Okay, so and then if I do it the opposite way. Okay, let me just reset that and do that. All I'm hearing here is the bottom frequencies.
Wow.
So EQ is, you know, on your radio, you've got like your treble and bass knobs.
Yeah.
EQ is a fancier version of that. Okay. The guy who invented EQ just died, Neve, a few weeks ago. He was a genius and invented it, I think in the late 60s. So the instruments could be heard clearer on recordings. So here we go. I'm going to go acoustic guitar bright, because that's kind of what this is. And see what it's done is it's got, you can see it's got rid of all the low sounds, because you can see on the analyzer that there's nothing below. You can see. So in this bit, there's no sound. So just by rolling that off gets rid of any kind of rumble that you might have. So cleans. So we don't need to hear anything lower than that, because the guitar isn't lower than that. And now this. That's kind of like where the guitar's sounding quite sweet. So I'll have a bit of that. So you can see how I can really change the tone of the instrument. That sounds quite nice. Nice and sweet. Without, it's a bit muddier, you see, because we've taken some of the kind of mid and bass out and made it a bit brighter sounding. See how it's a bit... Put a bit more emphasis on those higher notes by filtering out some of the lower frequencies and adding some of the highs. And again, there's no like rules for this, you know. Again, lots of presets like voice, you know, like female voice, pop vocal, stuff like this. That are good like starting places, but you can nothing better than just tweaking it just to see.
Okay.
You know, just to see where you're sounding best.
Yeah.
You know, where, so often with like a female voice, you might add a few highs to give them some more sparkle. You know, sometimes you'll cut some of the lower frequencies because they sound a bit dull and muddy. So you might take them out a little bit and things like that. If you're doing a David Attenborough style, here we go. Let me just do a quick demo here. Track. Yeah, let's put that back. The majestic lions of the Serengeti stalk their prey. By the pool, the wildebeest lay. There we go. So here's my little voice here. The majestic lions of the... So I'm going to make myself sound more kind of fat. The majestic lions of... See, and boom. There we go. The majestic lions of the Serengeti. See, I've fattened up my bass. The majestic lions of the Serengeti stalk their prey. By the pool, the wildebeest lay. Just fattened up my voice there to give me a good like narration vocal. You see, so by putting more kind of, I could go crazy. See, the majestic lions of too much, but you see, fattened my bass up a little bit and made myself the majestic sound lions a bit more TV, TV narration. So you can use the EQ to really kind of shape your track So if I just go back to Let's Dance here, I used one of the presets on Let's Dance. So on my EQ, I just went for the pop vocal,
Okay.
which seemed to do a nice job.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues to the song they're playing on the radio.
Just kind of makes it a bit brighter.
Right.
While color lights up your face.
Very subtle change, but just kind of makes it. So yeah, I mean, I could do that. See now,
While color light.
that's really made the high sounds. I don't want. I just want a little bit of sparkle.
I'll color lights up.
If I took that out, you'd hear a big difference.
Color lights up your.
That's removed all the mid tones.
Where did you?
While color lights up your face.
That sounds okay. Okay. Sorry, Gary, you said?
Sorry, I was just saying in that box just now that you had when you selected the pop vocal setting.
Yeah, yeah. So I go to channel EQ on here. So you see on here,
Yeah.
you've got your basic settings, but you can tweak these more. You see where it says plugins here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Open that up. And
Yeah.
if I click on this,
Yeah.
okay, I can now, or I can click on here
Okay.
and
Right.
EQ, and that does the same thing.
Right. But
just
it's
do-
not in the master though. It's more in it's in
No,
the
no, it's on the track because
Okay,
it's
got
the
it.
EQ for that particular track. So
Right.
if you EQ'd the master, you'd be EQing your backing track too.
I see. Okay.
And you don't want your backing track to have the same EQ
No.
as your voice.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure that so if you go into here, you can see all these different EQs.
Yeah. Would you use EQ tools even in track? The last category there. When you had the drop down and
Oh,
yeah.
EQ tools. These are quite. So these are sort of music settings, and EQ tools are more kind of like megaphone EQ. Okay, so take that and put on your red shoes.
Oh my
Kind of more
God.
extreme ones.
Right.
Telephone EQ.
Dance the blues.
Kind of. So these are quite good for if you're doing a film and you want something to sound like
Okay.
boombox.
Yeah.
It'd be like.
To the song they're playing.
Because a boombox always sounds like
Right.
too much of everything and distorted.
Okay. So
Okay.
as you said, these are better like for their aim. Them being there is more for films and things like that where you need that.
The more specific ones.
Yeah.
And so the best ones that you'll probably find are the presets
Okay.
in like male lead vocal. There we
Yeah.
go. It's very similar to pop vocal.
On the radio. Put on your
There we go. That sounds okay.
red shoes and dance the blues.
Okay. So now what I want to now do
Yeah.
is because I'm trying to copy the Bowie track, I've got EQ sounds nice. It sounds nice and clear. The compression's good. It all sounds nice and balanced. So this is where I'm now going into. I've got both echo. Okay, turn them both up full. You'll hear.
Put on your red shoes and dance.
So I had them there, about there.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues.
Okay, so here's what I did. I'll turn the reverb off first. Just do the echo.
Put on.
So
And if you say run,
So what I want to try and do is, I'll turn that off, is match like what Bowie's doing here. Oh, hi, Suki.
I see.
Hi.
I use this as like my reference as a good way to explain what delay is. So you can hear when Bowie does his,
if you say run,
it kind of goes run, run.
Yeah.
That's the kind of time of it.
Wow.
Okay, run. So on mine, I've got.
And if you say run,
Flatter.
About the same. Run. Okay. So if I go into my edit here, I've got time. So so if I change the time like this, you get.
and if you say run, I'll run with you.
You hear how late it comes in. So if I go run, if I turn this on, run. On this run. You hear how late that came in.
Yes.
If I take this back, run.
Yeah.
Run. There you go. One. Longer. One.
Okay. Right.
What? Okay. So let me just.
Wow.
So here I was going.
And if you say run,
So.
and if you say
So I took the word run. I turned that off.
run,
So let me just. So quick way to.
We pay for installation.
run,
So a bit slower.
run,
Bit in between.
run,
Almost there.
run.
There we go. And so I think that's about. So Bowie's going.
Say run, I'll run.
And I think I'm about pretty close.
You say run, I'll run with you.
Okay. And on Bowie's, he's got quite a lot of what's called repeats.
You say run, I'll run.
So the repeats is the next thing. So the time is the time before the echo starts.
Right.
So, or is it? Okay, so if you imagine you're in a room, if you're in a small room, you'll get a fast echo because it'll bounce off the wall quickly. If you're in a cathedral, you'll get a slow echo because the sound has to go all the way to the wall and bounce back. So that's kind of what it's replicating, the bounce of sound. So time is just basically how long between the repeats.
Yeah.
So it just repeats. And then repeat is how many repeats. So if I just go and do like this.
Hey, run. I'll
Just got two there. I've just take it all the way down.
run. I'll
Just got one. Just say run,
run.
If I increase the repeats, more like Bowie's got.
Hey, run. I'll run.
See, I'm
Yeah.
getting about 4 or 5 repeats there. But take it right up.
Run. I'll run with you.
It's a bit too much because it's repeating over the next line.
Right.
So I just really want it to sort of tail off when the next line's starting to fatten up the sound, but not make it too muddy. So.
And if you say run, I'll run with you.
Wow.
Okay, and so there's Bowie's.
I'll run with you.
So it's lasted about a similar amount of time there. Okay, and then on top of that, I'm just gonna go and there we go. Track. Gonna put a bit of reverb on it too, just to kind of fatten the whole thing out.
Yeah.
And if you say run,
So let's do that. So see, I put loads.
run,
That's too much.
I'll run with you.
Just a bit. I'll just give it more ambience. Okay, and
if you say hi,
there we go. So there you go. So that's basically the 4 main things that you've got. If you go into edit here, you can change your reverbs.
What
your
does
echo.
color stand for?
It's kind of changed the tone of it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't really change the timing. Okay, so if I just let me just go solo this, and just turn that off a little bit. Echo. Put on your red shoes and so if I take the color all the way up, put on your red shoes and dance the blues.
That's,
It kind of disappears.
yeah.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. That's strong. It kind of disperses it.
Yeah.
Okay, so usually somewhere in the middle for the color. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Okay,
So in the EQ settings on this panel, just now on the track, I think it was the EQ settings, sorry, with the compressor EQ and yeah, this one here. What does low cut do?
Oh, low cut. Well, where were you looking?
It was, I think it was probably on track.
Track.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, EQ. Low cut. Let me just show you. Let me take. If I go to EQ and onto here. So let me just. I'll just play it. To the song they're playing on the radio. To the song they're playing. You see it here?
Yeah.
Song they're playing on the radio.
It's
Basically, it cuts out the low frequencies.
Right. Right.
If I have a bit on, it won't make much difference to the voice because
Yeah.
I'm not singing like really deep.
Yes.
So, but I might use that more on drums or bass guitar to cut out rumble and stuff. But you can see if I turn it all the way up, it starts to lose to the song they're playing, some of the low parts of my voice. But if I don't have that, my voice is fine. So basically, low cut is just cutting out some low frequencies.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So, because Richard had suggested when we did Dido's Lament to have these settings in the middle for most of them, for all 5 of them, I think.
Yeah. If you have the settings in the middle,
yeah,
it doesn't change anything.
Okay. Got it.
So that's why he was saying that, because he was going to EQ them himself.
Okay. Thank you.
So he just wanted everything totally as you recorded it.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you're mixing things yourself, you might want that, because you might want to sort of give yourself some more highs to make yourself, sweeten up the high bits. So yeah. So if you're just sending a track to somebody else to mix, they probably don't want you to do anything.
Yeah. So these are essentially, all these settings, except for the compressor, can stay off until you've recorded your track, and then you can go back in and it will then enhance or otherwise.
Yeah. Although a lot of singers say that when they're recording.
Yeah.
Let me just I'll bring the I might take the echo off, but just leave the reverb on, because that'll give me a little bit of, there's my reverb there. You can hear a bit more, or two.
Yeah.
Bit of reverb. So I've not got the delays on.
Yeah.
Okay, but I've got a bit. And now a lot of people sometimes ask me about, they say, oh, I messed up my take. I got like 3/4 of the way through it, now I've got to do the whole thing again. But of course you don't. I can just, I'm just going to go here and just like select this bit of the track. Okay, and in fact, it doesn't start for a bit because they're all instrumental. Okay, so I don't need to start until here. I'm going to do this little yellow bit here for a while. And I can, and For fear your grace should fall. All right, now here I've got for fear your grace should fall. So what if I wanted, I'd like decide that, oh, I'll keep that, but I'm going to do fall again because I really messed that up. So what I'm going to do is just new track with duplicate settings. So I've got the same track. I'm just going to trim that back.
Right.
So I don't get the word fall. For fear your grace should. And here I can start a bit later as well because I don't need. I'm just going to make sure I select this next track. Hit record. Fear your grace should fall.
Right, and then you cut and paste into each other.
Go. And I can leave it on that track, or I can just drag it up to there. Fear your grace should fall.
I've done that before.
Have you? I don't want to do any of that.
I recently did it for the last one. I had to because I had messed up one part, and I was like, I cannot do the whole song all over again. So I did another, but it was handy, but it's tricky. It takes me longer because I don't know how to fully. So,
what's a good tip is to do it on a duplicate track, so you can actually hear.
Right.
You start singing the line up to it.
Okay.
Because there's one part I could do that on mine, but I probably won't.
Yeah, but
be too honest.
But it's useful if you've got you've done a great take and there's one bit that's wrong.
Yeah.
Then people are like, oh, I got to do it all. You don't have to do it all. You can just take that bit and stick it in.
Okay.
You know, and so you'd never notice. For fear your grace should fall. You can't tell that I did that in 2 takes.
No.
So yeah, that's a great bit. And if you want to start your recording later, you can just click at the top here, and you can drag a little yellow section here.
Yeah, it's okay.
And when you hit record, which you can do, or you can just hit the R button for record. I don't know where we are here. Oh, so this little button at the top, if you've got a video track, just here, makes the movie play.
Okay.
So you can. You could look into my eyes. Under the moonlight, the serious moonlight. That's it.
Okay.
And so I can just select a bit that I want to record just by doing it at the top here. Look into my. So yeah. So that means you don't have to do everything in one take or get one perfect take.
Okay, thank you.
Very rarely that people do that. It's not. You used to have to do it back in the day. When you do the Beatles and you do it on tape.
Or you end up doing it 25 times to get the final.
Yeah.
Well, I do everything
on open mic again.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I just want it to be like an open mic, so I just do it in one take.
It is.
If I don't like it, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
But
but by doing that, you might just ruin your best performance for one line.
Yeah.
Usually just one word, but
just one word. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I probably won't touch mine. I'll leave it where it is.
That's fine. But yeah, and especially if you're doing like a guitar track or something, and you like fluff up a chord, and you've got the rest of the guitar track like perfect, then you like, I don't want it. You just drop yourself into that bit and play that bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's basically like I said, there's lots more effects you can put in on these, but for most things, like this series of 4, that's why they are the default effects. The echo, reverb, and compressor. And I'll just show you one more thing that's useful. Here we go. So let me just so this. So Right, you can see here. Oh, where's my waveform? There it is. Let me just take this off for a sec. So you sometimes get a bit of, there's a little noise, which you never really hear with the track, but there's a little noise of me taking a little breath there. Okay, so there's these bits between. Now, if I put on what's called the noise gate, that's gone.
Right.
So
How did you do that, Jason?
just here, just at the bottom. It's just
Can
above,
you-
just a button here.
Can you add the noise gate afterwards?
Yeah,
You can. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, I've not been using it since Gori mentioned how it cut out some of her notes.
For me,
What you've got to do is tweak the level
Yes.
so it only cuts out the background sound.
yeah.
And with the
So
compressor.
what it does,
Yeah.
it means that, like here, if you go, you can still hear that. If we take that up a little bit. So it's still there. Do that.
So
Oh, it's gone, but
To the song that's
still there. So I just tweaked it just enough to remove any bits of me making funny noises between my songs. So it
that
just,
setting stay for the entire length.
sorry.
Track. So does the decibel setting that you have right now for noise gate, is that applicable to the entire track, or do you move it around based on where you are in the track?
No, it's just applicable to the entire track. So so again, you might not need it. But if there's little bits of like any little noises between when you're
And
singing,
it's quite funny. There's a sort of
you
one
often
I've just
get on
done,
things
and
like
it's
bass
actually
guitar.
little bit of a jangle. I think it might be my earring, but I quite like it.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't touched it.
You often get like the noise
when I
gate
have
on
my
bass
work,
guitars, and it kind of removes the noise of your fingers going up and down the string
Yeah.
between notes.
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that. Is that?
Sometimes it's quite nice to hear little.
Oh yeah. It's on like the Police. Every breath you take, you can.
Yeah.
I always remember that hearing the sound of his fingers moving up
Yes,
and down.
Andy Summers.
And it really works. It really makes it feel like it's been played live.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't want to cut out all the noise. Okay. So yeah. So and any other questions?
I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
How obviously we have GarageBand, and we're not. I mean, I'm using like the free software, for example.
Yeah.
But is it only sort of limited to like a studio mixing when you have, for example, like all the singers who put out their tracks and releases, and you hear this absolute crisp and clear vocal before or after instruments are added in, does that come from like, is that even ever possible in something like GarageBand, or is that actually just
it's definitely possible. In fact, quite a few of them probably are done in something like GarageBand. A lot of because GarageBand it records everything at like complete without any kind of like compression. So it's like MP3 compression or something. So you're getting the full resolution of whatever so it's really about what's going into it.
Right.
It's about how good your studio setting is.
Right.
And so the reason they're sounding so amazing is because they're in a recording studio.
Yeah.
With like £1,000 microphones
and
walls that are completely covered in sponge and no sound whatsoever. And so it's not down to the software. It's a lot of it's just down to having a perfect recording environment.
Yeah.
And these days people record in their bedrooms, don't they? And manage to get perfectly good.
Perfectly, lots of albums that you hear in the charts now and stuff are just recorded in people's bedrooms because you can.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who used to have hits a big artist in the 80s told me that when they were recording in the 80s, their software was worse than GarageBand that we have now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what you've got is, great.
GarageBand is brilliant.
It is, yeah.
It really is for it's Logic's great. Logic's just like GarageBand, but it's just got more stuff.
Okay.
So there's more things to play about. There's more effects. So it's more complex. But all you ever need to record, like a backing track or your guitar or something like that, a vocal, you can do in here, and obviously it's not just limited to, if you wanted to record yourself. If I did a new track, okay, I'm going to do a new software instrument. Okay, I can do a. So put down a bit. There we go. I can create instruments, and there's a whole library of instruments.
Yeah.
Let's get funky. So. There's all kinds of synth sounds and everything.
So
That's on your keyboard, is it?
I've got a keyboard here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a little, I've got a little MIDI keyboard.
Okay.
The keyboard itself doesn't make any sound. It's just what's called a controller.
Okay.
It just plugs into your computer.
Right.
As so there's all kinds of stuff you can go nuts. Obviously you can get you can add percussion to things. So you can put some track, you've got drums, okay, drum kits. You can there's orchestral. Let's do a choir. So you can make up your own tracks. You can you've got everything from pianos, the whole lot.
Backing choir.
The guitar thing too.
Let's say
Proclarum.
You got all these kind of crazy stuff.
I have a question. I don't know if you've done this already, but about exporting files once you've done them.
Yeah. So basically what you do when you're done is you go to share and export song to disk. That's what you're going to want.
It's just at the top, Suki, along the
top. Yeah. And what you're going to want to do is...
If you've covered it already, Jason, I can look.
No, I've not. No, because it's always the last thing you do. So you're going to want either what's called a WAV or an AIFF version. Okay. And we'll go with the best quality. Always best to have the best quality. So uncompressed. Now you might want to also, once you've done this, make an MP3 version to email to somebody else, or you could. So what this will do is we'll create a smaller file. Okay.
Oh, I see.
But it won't. But it's compressed. It won't be as good a quality.
Yes, yeah. But I've been trying to.
So if you're going to do one that you're going to put in your video, for example, okay, do it as a WAV file. Either of these two, okay, are perfect. They'll both come out the same basically because they're both uncompressed. So it doesn't try and make a smaller file in any way. It just keeps all the sound. Doesn't remove any bits. So I just do that. I just give it a, let's just call it Let's Dance mix. Okay, I usually go as a WAV file. Whatever, Let's Dance, export, and off it goes. So it's doing here.
Suki, when I do that, I always save it where it says save as. I always save it onto my desktop so I can find
Yep.
it.
Yeah, but
Because
save
otherwise
save as is
Yeah.
different. So save as saves it as a GarageBand file.
Right, yeah. I save it. Well, whatever. I save it on the desktop.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can't find it. So,
But there's
I
a
do
difference
both,
between
though.
save as or save and export.
Yeah. So I
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I save
So
it.
what save does is it saves this
yeah.
on the separate track in the GarageBand format.
Yeah, I do that first.
Yeah, do that first.
Yeah.
So it's still in. So when you do a save, it's still in GarageBand. It's still a bunch of separate tracks all played together. When you do a share, you so if I do that again, you'll see it says it uses the words. I'll do it. Replace. It says bouncing. So bouncing is the term when you take all your tracks and combine them into one stereo track.
Yeah.
So that's what they used to do. The word from early recording. So for example, Sergeant Pepper's was made on a 4-track tape recorder, but it's got orchestras on it and everything. It's got loads of stuff. So it's amazing that they did it, but they had to do it by bouncing tracks. So they record like Ringo, say Paul and George doing the guitar, bass and drums. And then that would be on 3 tracks. So they've only got 1 track left for vocals. What about orchestras and all the tape loops and all the stuff that you got on Sgt. Pepper's? So what they do is once they were happy with the guitar, bass and drums, they take tracks 1, 2 and 3 and they do what's called bounce them and they record them over to track 4.
Right.
So now your guitar, bass and drums, and you've got to sort of be happy that you've got them right.
Yeah.
Because they're now mixed onto track 4 and you can't change them. Okay. That now means that you've now got tracks 1, 2 and 3 are now available again to record over.
Blimey.
So you get your orchestra in and start playing, or you can get some tambourine on, or you can John and Paul can record the harmonies on tracks 1 and 2 and then bounce them to track 3 when they're ready. And so this process of bouncing just means take tracks and bounce them into 1 track. That's where the word comes from, when you bounce things down. So
Cool. And presumably they're all saved automatically, are they, within GarageBand anyway? Or are they not?
no, well, so
It's when you exit, they ask you.
I mean the original file before you want to export or save or share or
the
whatever.
original file remains unchanged.
Whether you save it or not, I mean.
Oh, you always want to save. Well, if I do quick GarageBand,
It'll always ask you anyway.
it's going to ask me if I want to save what I've done.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm going to want to save it because it's going to save all my settings and all my recording and everything I've done. So so Richard said when he did Dido's Lament, he said some people are sending me the GarageBand files, and it's like I need your bounce, I need your shared file because I want. Otherwise I've got to go into GarageBand and open up everybody's GarageBand.
I don't even know how they did that. Share a GarageBand without exporting it.
Well, you can share it in Dropbox and stuff. You can upload.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it does work without exporting it. But yeah, so that's always the last thing you need to do when you're happy with your mix. Okay, you can export it out as a song that you can then share or put into a video or do whatever you want with. So that's yeah. So
is Terry still there? Because Terry had some questions.
Terry's there, yeah.
Oh no, so I got that's fine. There's plenty of time.
Yeah. Go no, ask away. Ask away.
Literally, while you were at that point, I was just going to say, should you or would you put the video in GarageBand, or would you use another program and then transfer the audio file into the other program?
No, I wouldn't put the video in GarageBand. I did hear. I imported a video file just because I just wanted some lyrics because I wanted something on screen that I could use to demo. But obviously, if I was doing like an open mic recording, I'd record my music first, and then just put that music into something like Final Cut Pro or iMovie or Premiere or whatever. yeah, whatever. They're all great, all work,
Right.
and then
okay.
just use that as the music tracks and edit my clips
Okay.
to the music.
Because the last one I did, I
You-
put the
you export
movie
it, Terry.
into Logic and did it that way. But that's
Wow.
is it?
Yeah, the only thing is when you do that, you don't. Logic will just input. Logic doesn't have any tools to edit the movie. It just
No, well, I didn't need to edit it because it was just a very basic one take.
yeah, oh yeah. In that case,
Yeah.
then because if you put it in Logic and you're not changing the film in any way,
Yeah.
you can export it again as a film,
Yeah.
and that's
All
fine.
right.
Oh,
But
okay.
I didn't even know
obviously
you could do
Logic-
any of that with GarageBand.
yeah, yeah, you know, you can bring in a thing, you know, and there you go, and you can even
I thought it was completely audio.
export this audio to the film that's in, you know.
When you export it, you have to export it not as a bounce. You have to export it as something else. I think, wasn't it?
It could be an MP4.
Yeah, but it wasn't bounce. I think it was. I can't remember now. I think when I tried to bounce it, it just bounced the audio file and not the video file or something. I had to
Yeah.
go to a different something. I can't remember.
Yeah, you'd have to go to like export movie or something.
That's it. Export
Yeah.
movie. Yes, and then
Yeah.
we did the whole lot. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Right.
So
So iMovie is the thing to use, is it?
Yes.
yeah.
If you've got it on Mac, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I use.
Invested in a brand new Mac, so yes.
Yeah. So it's very easy. You just drop your audio file into
Alright.
iMovie, then you
Okay.
can just
Or, yeah.
put your clips in,
I mean,
add titles,
obviously, people
trim
like
things.
Flynn aren't using iMovie. They're using what's he using? He's using
He uses Final Cut Pro.
what's my
Mike
yeah,
uses Final Cut Pro.
very-
I know because he calls me every month. How'd you do this?
very posh. I mean, the Beatles thing was amazing,
yeah,
wasn't it?
very
Really,
good,
what he
yes.
did with
Yeah.
that.
But I presume you have to buy that, do you?
Yeah.
to find out
But
about it.
basically,
Bye,
Final
Laura.
Cut Pro is kind of like what Logic is to GarageBand.
Oh, okay.
So GarageBand is a free Apple sound editing program,
Yeah.
and Final Cut Pro is the paid for one that is kind of similar but has got more features.
Yeah.
And that's the same. Like so yeah, iMovie is the free, and Final Cut Pro is a paid for one that's got more features. GarageBand's free, Logic's sort of paid for.
Right.
Yeah. They're all,
Okay.
yeah. So you know, if you learn GarageBand, then it's not a big step to use Logic because the tracks are all laid out in the same way. You just go into the effects and things like that, and you'll find that there's actually more to choose from. But it's all the same kind of principle.
Yeah. The only thing I couldn't do when I tried GarageBand originally was it wouldn't normalize in, and I'm not sure what that does, but it wouldn't normalize.
Yeah, you don't really need to normalize. In fact, if you get
what does that actually do?
it's a bit like a kind of I don't think,
Because I remember Richard was when he was doing his demos was talking about normalizing.
yeah, but I wouldn't do that for stuff that you do. The reason what normalize does is it makes everything basically a set volume.
If you've got lots of voices, then you'd probably have to do that.
So if you've got like 100 voices, it very quickly makes them all about the same volume. Oh, you off?
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Sorry, I was just waving to Gary.
Oh, yeah, Gary's the one that's going. Yeah. No, so it very quickly makes them all like the same volume. And so that when he puts 100 tracks into Logic to do his choir thing, he doesn't have to do too much mixing between the tracks because they're all about the same. But when you're doing your own recordings, you don't need to do that because you can just adjust your own compression and your own track slider to do that because you haven't got like 100 voices to worry about. So you don't need to worry about normalizing your tracks. As long as they're recorded at the right level, then that's fine.
The levels were too high, for example, you got some spikes, and would normalizing?
No, normal.
I wouldn't do that.
If they're too high,
Right.
if they're literally too high, nothing will fix that.
Right. Okay.
Because if it's so high that they're distorting, then you just have to re-record it.
Yeah.
Right.
Bye, everyone. Jason, you're a star. That's answered all my questions.
Great.
Some that I'll never touch, but I know about now.
Okay.
Right.
I'll leave to
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to watching the beginning.
All right.